Chewy here. Welcome back to another episode of Tropico 5. In this episode, I'm going to explain why I did the certain things that I did in the past 3 episodes. Just so you know, when I recorded them, I didn't realize I was going to upload them. Right now, I pretty much record everything that I play, and if I find stuff that gets really interesting later on, I upload it, and that's what happened with this series. So I'm going to explain why I did the things that I did and just give you kind of the basics of how Tropico works. In Tropico, of course, I'm just going to give a rundown. You basically build this country from the ground up, starting from an area where you're owned by, I think it's Britain, and as it goes on, you start going through the World Wars era, the Cold War, and stuff like that, and it gets increasingly harder, and there's a lot more stuff you got to worry about. And basically it all starts, like, the big foundation for Tropico games are right here, the docks. This is what's going to make you money right off the bat. Now, eventually, one of my favorite things that I'm just going to show you right away is, let me find it. I love the tourism. I cannot wait to get into the Cold War so I can start doing that. It's something I've always really enjoyed in Tropico games. I don't even really know why. I just find it enjoyable. So right off the bat, these are something you're going to need, but you're going to need something to give to these. So in the era that we're in right now, a big, huge crop that is pretty much like #1, I would say, for all of last era and most of this era, which last era, I can't think of the name of what they call it, but it's like the revolution period, basically. Which, in that time and period of history, you know, it's a little bit after the American Revolution, but you got, like, the Spanish Revolution, which is basically where this game is set up, which is Middle America. So, basically, the big one you need, like, this is a major one, is tobacco. Tobacco in this period blows up. It was part of the Columbian Exchange and stuff like that, and it grows really well over here. And it's a big luxury good, and something you can turn that into right away after you hit this era, I think this is a cigar factory. And what you're going to want is you can just trade these base products like this throughout here, but you're going to get more money if you do the cigar factory. So that's why I built a ton of these. And same with this. I believe these are cattle ranches, which will give milk. That's why I have not a lumber mill, but I'll explain that in a minute. I think, yeah, creamery right here. They will turn goat and cow milk into cream, which gets you butter and stuff like that. Another thing, lumber mill obviously turns the forestry into lumber, which makes it have a higher power. But actually, this isn't producing very well. I think, even though this is mainly just a video discussing stuff, I'm going to delete that for now. Mines, obviously, eventually you can turn into jewelry mines and stuff like that. I don't think we actually have the stuff to do it. Sugar is also another one, because you can build a rum distillery, which I think I'm building one, if it's not already done. I can't seem to find it, but I know that there is one. That's why I did that. So that's basically the general simple form of economics in this game at the point where we're at. Now, getting on to different things. With Tropico, I have noticed that, like right here, it's kind of hard to see, is that there's little shanty towns appearing. That's because there's nowhere, like, houses around them to live. Now, they're there, and in the next episode I could more address this, is that tenements are like the best housing in this game. I mean, they're a little bit more expensive than the country house, but they hold a lot more, but the quality of life drops over time. That's why they're okay, but they're not, you know, great. They're good for the era, and I think eventually, I know in Tropico 4, you know, you can upgrade them to apartments. But yeah. Now, something big to look into when you're in Tropico, not this, is this book right here. This book pretty much tells you everything you need to know about your town. Right here. Overall happiness. You know, healthcare during this time period that we're in Tropico, it starts becoming a more bigger factor. That's why in episode 3 I placed some hospitals or I think the clinics, that's what they're called. Clinics and stuff like that around just so, if they need to be there, they can be there. Police stations, stuff like this. Basically, this time period, it gets more advanced. That's generally how it is. With the power plant, I did do this at the end of last episode. I was trying to figure out, I think I figured it out, is that there's a coal mine right here. So next episode I address it. So that's why that didn't work when I first started. These right here are, I believe, more sugar plantations. Like I said, I'm trying to get a rum distillery. Another general thing about Tropico is these are Teamster's office. Teamster offices basically transport the goods from here to here. And something I really like about Tropico is that you can see what roads are used a lot and what isn't. Because like right here, these are, solid paved roads. But as you get farther out in the country and stuff like that, let me see. No, right over here is pretty. Perfect example right here. This isn't a heavily used road, even though it should be. I don't. But I guess I use this. Is that these are heavily used roads become, these asphalted style, while these stay dirt roads for the time being. And something I've always liked about Tropico, another thing is, when we started out, these were little people in, carriages and stuff like that, carrying around things. Now there's full-blown cars. It adds, I can't think I was about to say, it adds an authenticity to the game, showing how much detail that they put into it. And that's something I really like, is details in games, small details like that. But yeah, I think that's basically the basics of all I did last episode. Like I said, I guess I can go into the election a little bit more. A strategy that I use when the election comes up is basically get money up. Like, they come out every 2 to 3 years usually. 2 to 4, I guess, is better. And I always build up a little bit of money, and then I add a bunch of stuff that they need. So, like, let's say there was an election right now. I would add a lot of health care. More housing, obviously, because there's quite a bit of homeless people. And basically boost that up so there's a less likely chance that I would lose. And then let's go into the first part of it. I wish I would explain this. I may even do a video on this of just the basics of what to do. But in the first, there's these things, mandates. And these mandates are basically given to you through the crown of how long you can be there and how long you're going to rule. And you basically do quests to get that up higher. Sorry, I had to clear my throat. And you basically do that to get longer on until you can get to the revolution. And once you get to the revolution, just don't pay it. It's not worth it. Just build a couple towers like I did, and you'll be perfectly fine. That's pretty much it on that with the revolution and mandates. Basically start out, if I had to basically do a guide, this is kind of like a guide, kind of like a show you why I did what I did. So I guess I can call this a guide. Basically just build tobacco, get housing, maybe get some meat. Another thing you could do, which is something I do next episode also, is I build corn. Corn was another thing that was brought in through the Columbian Exchange. Let's look through here. Basically, a good thing is anything that came in through the Columbian Exchange is going to be good to trade with. Like you can see here, I have lots of sugar. Let me get you a better one. Okay, there we go. I have 2,000 tobacco. Expected revenue is pretty high. Cigars, iron, stuff like that. Just anything you produce. Like with mine, I do communism usually. Communism in this game is easier than democracy to run. I eventually want to try democracy, but I played this game since Tropico 2, and I've never had a good working democracy. It doesn't work out. I've tried to. It's rather easier just to do this. But see, textile mills and stuff like that, you start getting into some really cool stuff here. A cannery, that would be cannery, that's something we'll work on. And other stuff like that. Yeah, I think I've covered pretty much every of the basics. Let me just run through here real quick. Oh, another good thing to have once you hit the World Wars era is start out by building. Let me make sure I say this right. Start out by building a high school and then go through, but make sure you build these based on your population. Right now I have 343 and students are 8 of 8, so I obviously need to build a new high school just so more can get through. Basically what the high school does is it gives you educated citizens, and basically people who graduate high school can then go on and go to college, and that basically expands how useful they are. And then the observatory, it basically generates more research points. It's basically another library. The embassy is a good one to have during this era, because this is the era where you have to start kind of, basically, last era, your big thing was being loyal, not necessarily loyal to the crown, but keeping the crown happy. This era, you got to kind of choose between the Axis and the Allies' power. And basically, if you want to choose communism, democracy, or who you want to take side, and that it's good to have good, strong relationships with one. Don't be wishy-washy. Be strong in one area. So, because that generates you more money, and they'll start sending you stuff, sending you money, and stuff like that. They're basically become your ally. So the embassy is a good thing to have. I think this is the embassy. No, it's the opera house. I have an embassy around here. This is also another area where I would definitely recommend building up your military. Yeah. I think, let me just drop through here one time. Sorry. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Electric we get into next episode. Mines are a good thing to have. Like I said, I've already talked about this. Ooh, that would... Chocolate factory? The big thing with Tropico games, this is kind of off topic, is that I've noticed this with Tropico 4 especially, and I think Tropico 3 was the same way, was Tropico 5 is pretty much Tropico 4 with all the added DLC, and of course they add more stuff, but that's how it is. So, the modern times is something new to me. Tropico 4 I had a hard time playing with, because this was on Xbox 360, where I would build this huge town in one day and I was really proud of it, and then I would get off for the day or whatever, play a different game, and when I got back on it would corrupt my save, so I never really got to the modern times era. So I'm kind of curious and really interested how that's going to go. I'm excited about it. So yeah, I think that's going to be the end of this episode. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.